Hello, dear friends, and welcome to this webinar for the BroilerNet project. So my name is Stefan Gunnarson. I'm senior lecturer and researcher teacher at the Agriculture University in Sweden. And my office is in Skara in western of Sweden. And with us here, we also have Lina Göransson, which is a PhD, and she's also a partner of the BroilerNet consortium and will help me with technical things. And she has already started the recording. And later on, you will meet Wiebke Jansen and Piotre Kwiecinski that will give presentation. So you are very welcome here. And I start with sharing a presentation. So welcome to the BroilerNet project, and this is our first webinar. And as you all noticed, we have all, I will put it in presentation mode, I'm sorry. This webinar will be recorded and it will be available on the BroilerNet website later on. It might take a couple of days until we get there, but you're all very welcome. So the agenda of today is that this webinar will be not more than 2 hours. I have already started the opening and I will also be the moderator of this webinar. And then I will give a presentation of the BroilerNet project. And Dr. Lisa Morgans from Royal Agriculture University UK will give a recorded presentation. Unfortunately, she couldn't join today. And she will give you the information about what the bins are, which is within the work package 1 of this project. Then we will have, of course, it's open for questions. And as you can see, there is a Q&A, questions and answer function here in the Zoom toolbar where you find it. It's a little up to you where you put it on your screen. And then you can put in the questions and Lina will help me to answer these questions. We will have a short break, and then after the break, that will be around 2 o'clock. There is an invited presentation by Wiebke Jansen, which is policy officer at the FVE, which is the Federation of Veterinarians in Europe. And she will, together with Piotre Kwiecinski, the president of the Union of European Veterinary Practitioners, she will give a presentation on coccidiosis prophylaxis and other topics in broilers, position of FVE, which is a quite recent position paper. And then there will be questions for Wiebke and Piotre, and there will be questions. You can ask any questions, and we will see how many questions we will be able to answer. And I will close this webinar not later than 3 o'clock. So you're all very welcome to this. And I can see now that there are about 40 participants. So thank you for joining, and I hope that you will enjoy this webinar. So BroilerNet is a project, the long title is Practice and Science Broiler Production Innovation Network. It's a Horizon Europe project, and it's running from 2022 to 2026, which is a 4-year project. And it is within the coordination and support action, the CSA of the European Commission funding. And this means that it's a 50-50 industry academia partner project. And within the project, we have 25 partners in 13 different countries. And I'm proud and honored to be the coordinator of the project. So an introduction here is that poultry is to become, poultry meat is to become the world's most widely consumed meat quite soon. And EU is quite large, with importing, fourth largest importer of in the world, and the third largest exporter of poultry meat. And the import is mainly coming from Asia and Brazil. So it's Thailand and Brazil that is the main importing countries to European Union. The challenges for the European poultry meat sector is to achieve sustainable global consumption and also provide safe and high quality poultry meat. And that is within the European Union, but also as an exporter to the rest of the world. There are, as you know, also societal demands of a more sustainable production, and this includes environment, animal welfare, and managing animal welfare. So what the European Union wants is, by funding our project, is to bring best practices within broiler farming out to all broiler farmers in Europe, and that this information should be open and accessible for anyone who wants it. So as you know, we have challenges and aspects of broiler farming, which is including that the environmental impact of the broiler farms, and it's also the transmission of diseases like avian flu, etc., that could be a risk factor in several countries. We have in different countries, we have specific challenges. For example, in my country, Sweden, the broilers should have windows open into the house, so the daylight should come into the houses. We have challenges with the growth ratio, and sometimes there are wooden breasts and other problems that can arise in the production. We have a discussion about stocking density, and this is also related to the litter quality of the broiler farms, and to manage a good litter quality throughout the production cycle, and then avoid foot-pod dermatitis, which in some cases can be quite severe. And in some countries, for example, Netherlands, there is other hybrids strains used. For example, more slowly growing broilers that is growing slower than the fast-growing Ross and Cobb hybrids. So these are things that are contemporary discussion points and challenges within the broiler community. The background to this project, why we applied for this project and received funding, is that there have previously been different thematic networks within the European Commission. That has, for example, been 4D4F, a project where several, I think it was about 20 European countries that were linked together to see how it could increase automatization and new technology within dairy production. There is also within the poultry sector for laying hens, the project Hennovation that was running for several years, and I think it finished for 4 or 5 years ago. And there are also projects ongoing, like the bovine Beef Innovation Network Europe, and EU Pig, which is covering the pig production sector. And as you all are probably aware of, there are EIP agri-operational groups, and the European Commission have put a lot of effort into create networks within countries and between countries to have a knowledge exchange. So within the BroilerNet project, we are 25 organizations, and half of them are research institutes or universities, and half of them are companies or its branch organization. It depends a little on how the broiler sector is structured in the different countries. So we're very, very happy that we could have these industry partners and the academic partners, and that we are working along together, and that this project is also funding the participation of the industry partners. In many projects, it seems like it's assumed that the private partners, the industry partners, should provide their own time, but here it's a funding that is cover all the partners. So the aim of the BroilerNet project is to enhance the resilience and sustainability of the European broiler sector, and this is also by creating space for interaction between science and practice to bring these parts together, and to co-create a ready-to-use innovative best practices that could be applied on broiler farms in Europe at the national level and also on the international level, because there could be different aspects in different countries that are considered to be more important. So what we are doing within this project is to mobilize the relevant actors within the broiler sector to work together to reshape. Reshape is maybe a quite strong word here, but refine is maybe a better word. So the broiler sector within Europe could be and become more resilient and sustainable over the decades to come. And within this project, we have a focus on the broilers and the farmers on the production farm. So we are not covering the area of hatching, and we are not covering the abattoir part of the production. And this is because we need to focus, and we see the broiler and the farmers on the production side to be the central part of this. So this is a way to be focused. However, as you know, we can't exclude them completely, but the main focus is what's happening on the farm. So the specific objectives of the project is to establish National Broiler Innovation Network, BINS, and Liz Morgans will in the next presentation give a more detailed view on description of how we have created this BINS, and also how we are connecting them on the international level or the project level. So these BINS are, there are the broiler farmers, the advisor, and researchers are central, but the main focus is the broiler farming, of course. So by creating this, we want to enhance the national collaboration. In some countries, there is a strong collaboration already within branch organizations, but in other countries, it might be something that needs to be developed, and that we are developing now. And this is like an infrastructure for enable the information exchange and collect innovative ideas and good practices. So we will work on both the national level and on the international level. And the aspect here is that it shouldn't be the scientists coming and say how to do things. We have a bottom-up approach, so it's the individual participants that bring important questions to the BIN meeting and bring it to the network, so we can have an exchange of science and best practices within the countries, but also across the countries. If we take an example, maybe a country have developed good methods for decreasing the foot-pad dermatitis on farm, and other countries are looking for good solutions to decrease the foot-pad dermatitis in their country. Then there could be an exchange of practical things, and also that the science that is available will be accessible for farmers in their national languages. So in order to connect these bins, we will also create thematic expert networks on European levels, and they will be focusing on environmental sustainability, animal welfare, and animal health management. And this should not be seen as an exclusion, it's a way of organizing it, because as you probably know, many challenges might have different sides. Animal welfare and animal health is always very close linked together, but also the environmental sustainability and animal health is connected. So this is a way to structure it, to not have a big group working with all things, but to structure the work and make it feasible in a way. So what we also will do is engage with existing and new broiler-focused EIP Agri operational groups. And what we know now is that there is about 20 to 30 that are relevant to our project. And then we will harvest and use and further disseminate these innovative solutions that have been identified by the operational groups on national and European level. And that is important. And the European Commission also wants us to connect to the EIP Agri operational group. So projects within that are funded by the European Commission should be interlinked, and that we have a synergy effect of this. What is important with the bins is then to, as Lisa will describe more in details, identify and assess the most urgent needs or the most urgent challenges within the three key teams, identify the challenges, make a priority of it, and find the innovative solutions that might be already available in some countries. And then we will perform an evaluation and cost-benefit analysis of these innovative solutions. Are they adaptable to a wide range of countries? And is there also a cost-benefit with using them? And this is an overview picture from Work Package 5, which is working with a cost-benefit analysis. And the work of this work package will be that there will be farm surveys. So we will gather real farm data for constructing typical farm models, and that are relevant for the different countries, because we have local and regional factors that are influencing. So there will be a typical farm model of the existing system, and then the innovative practices will be, the impact will be defined, the effect, the input, and the cost, and there will be an evaluation of how it's working, and also the economic evaluation of differences, if there is something to gain from the production cost margins. Animals are healthier, then the farmer may earn some more money, and the birds are having a better welfare, for example. Then these ready-to-use practices, good practices, will be disseminated after the evaluation, and we will make them available in all languages that of all the countries that are participating in this project. And there will be end-user material that will be developed in the partnership with the operational groups and the national European channels to adapt them into the national context, and we will share them through the EIP Agri network and also through the EU Farm Book, which is under creation now. So we will create a knowledge reservoir. There will be organized road shows in the countries, best of good practices. There will be a broiler championship, which will be described more by Lisa Morgans. And here you have the BroilerNet .eu, which is our website where you find more information, and you will find all the information in your national languages. As you are attending this webinar, you are very comfortable with English, I think, but please share with your colleagues within your country that you might think is interested in this, but are not really fluent in English, and there will also be a option for finding more information there. So this is a diagram of our work packages where we have the work package 1, where you have more information from. The work packages working on environmental sustainability, animal welfare, animal health management, cost-benefit analysis, communication, outreach, and increasing impact. And then we had coordination. And connected to this, we also have the BINs on national levels and the thematic expert networks on the EU, European level. And the ERP Agri operational groups are connected. And we also have a small but very important advisory board where stakeholder organizations are giving their input to improve our project. So I just want to make a short presentation of the work package leaders: Lisa Morgans, Paolo Ferrari, Julia Malchov for animal welfare. We have Natalia Mayo Asferrer from taking care of the animal health management, Monika Gebska from Poland, cost-benefit analysis. Ingrid de Jong is in charge of the communication dissemination, and I'm the coordinator. So here are some examples of important needs that have been identified in the preparation of the application, and we will do this identification of needs or challenges on annual basis. So there will be 3 cycles. So in the first cycle, we will have important topics now, and then there will be a revision and two more times. So we are open for that. There might show up things and factors that are more important. So managing the CO carbon dioxide balance in different housing system, the use of slower growing broiler genotypes, how is that impacting the environmental sustainability, reducing foot-pad dermatitis, thinning of flocks, and the impact of animal welfare of thinning. And then animal health management, investigating alternatives to antibiotics, coccidiosis, understanding the effect of pandemics and potential zoonotic diseases. And then we have topics that is might not be possible to split into these 3 boxes or themes which we have determined, like the EU production compared to Asian exporters, the effect and the challenges on farms with the better chicken commitment that is on the agenda since a couple of years. So what we're doing, and what Lisa Morgans will give you a presentation of work package 1 and information there, but so far we're not really having any results here. But what we're doing now is establishing an infrastructure for knowledge exchange in the countries and also across the countries. So in all these countries, we have both industry and academic partners. In Ireland, we have TEGES, which is an academic advisory organization, but they have already created their own BIN network. So we have 30 networks now, and it's spread across Europe. But if you are participating from a country that is not member of this consortium, the information will be open and accessible for people in other countries as well. So it's not something that is restricted to these 13 participating countries. So what we will do is to look at the three challenges on environmental sustainability, animal welfare, animal health management. We will localize and determine harvest urgent needs or challenges, important challenges, and these will then be analyzed, and we will look at underutilized knowledge that is available, and then we will collect into this with the innovative good practices and practice-ready research solutions, and these will be shared within the BroilerNet, broiler innovation networks and thematic expert networks, and this information will also be shared across Europe. So what you can do now, if you're interested in following our work, is that you follow us on social media. We have the website, as I said, but we're also available on Twitter and on LinkedIn. And then during the autumn, we will have more news because we are creating the infrastructure now, but more information is coming. So I would like to thank all the participating partners within the project. It's very interesting and nice to work with you. And here is a picture of the kickoff from the kickoff meeting in Netherlands we had in the autumn. And there are some of the people that are, so you see the faces of these organizations as well, because all are people. So thank you for listening to this presentation and follow us on social media. And now my presentation will be open for questions. So I see that there is, yeah. So please put in questions in the question and answers function. I will now stop sharing. Then I think I continue with a presentation by Lisa Morgans, which will be a video of 15 minutes. And what I can say about this is that the video, unfortunately, the sound is quite low. So if you increase the volume on your loudspeakers or your headphones, you will be able to hear more clearly what Lisa is saying. So I will share the presentation now from the beginning. So.
Hello, everybody. This is Lisa Morgan speaking from the Royal Agricultural University in the UK, and I'm going to be talking to you about Work Package 1 in the BroilerNet project, which is all about innovation networks on national and European level. And I'm very sorry I couldn't be there today with you live. National broiler innovation networks. In fact, we've actually managed to do at the heart about Work Package 1 in the BroilerNet project, which is all about innovation networks on national and European level. And I'm very sorry I couldn't be there today with you live, but hopefully this gives you a good overview. Now, the first work package of BroilerNet is really at the heart of this project to improve the sustainability and resilience of the broiler sector across Europe. There's a number of objectives for this part of the project. First one being to establish and support 12 national broiler innovation networks. In fact, we've actually managed to do 13, so we're doing quite well, really. But these broiler innovation networks are the core piece in the puzzle that brings people together to foster learning and improve on things on the ground. We're also going to be pivotal in creating three thematic expert networks, which are called TENS, and these are very similar to the innovation networks, but they're across Europe, so very international, and bringing together different subject matter experts within a particular theme. And finally, this work package is about engaging with the existing and new broiler sector focused operational groups that exist within each country. Operational groups have been around for many years as part of EIP Agri, and we want to bring them together and connect up the learnings from these as we go forward with the project. Now, what are broiler innovation networks and what are we doing within this project? Well, the first stage was really the who of these networks, and that involved mapping out the key actors, as we call it in this project, but the key people and organisations within each country that should or could be involved in this project and in these bins, as we call them, broiler innovation networks. And this was an activity that was done within each country with our support, and it was critical that they had a good grasp of who the sort of movers and shakers were, so to speak, within the broiler sector, so that they could go and communicate and engage with them to take part in this project. And that's a quite a dynamic process. It's not fixed by any stretch of the imagination. Different people and members will come and go in the network as time moves on. And we're currently in the process of developing tools and techniques for the broiler innovation networks to help them discuss and work together, identify those sector challenges, and explore some of the good practices that already exist in the sector. And then our job as a project level is fostering that national level knowledge exchange within the bins, and then bringing that upper scale and sharing that internationally through the medium of the thematic expert networks. So a broiler innovation network in this project aims to bring together relevant people and organisation within each country's broiler sector to discuss the current challenges facing the industry and to identify and explore good practice in response to the country's specific challenges. And here on your screen we've got an example of a result of the participatory actor mapping from Finland, just showing the different sort of supply chain companies, processors, feed companies, breeders, as well as the producers and healthcare professionals at all levels. So some of these broiler innovation networks are very similar in structure across countries, and some are very different, and it's those differences that can be really interesting, but the similarities allow us to share a lot of practices across countries. So how are we going about doing this? Well, the process is very multi-actor, which is a bit of a technical term, but basically means we have lots of different people from bringing different perspectives from different walks of life, having different roles in the broiler industry, coming together to share that knowledge. It's very participatory and bottom up. Everyone's on a sort of equal footing. No one's coming from a position of superiority or anything like that. And together we work to co-develop and co-produce the knowledge and solutions that are going to help improve the broiler sector's resilience. And critically, the challenges and the solutions that are being proposed are industry-led. This is not a research-led project. This is very much from the bottom up and being led by those that are on the ground every day. The responsibilities of the Broiler Innovation Network in each country is to meet as a network at least twice per year. It doesn't really work if you don't see or talk to each other, but we're encouraging the network to come together in person, online, more than that if they so wish. And building that rapport and that trust between different actors is absolutely key to allowing successful innovation. The network identifies and shares their country-specific sector challenges, and particularly within the themes of environmental sustainability, health management and broiler welfare. And then they can identify and discuss good practices within those themes as the next part of this project. And collecting those good practices, we're going to be looking at some of the best of those good practices, and that's going to create a bit of a sort of BroilerNet championship where we have sort of advocates or champions that can go forth and spread and disseminate those good practices. Now, the role and responsibilities of these broiler innovation networks is absolutely hinges on the BroilerNet facilitators. And there's 13 of these that we have across the project. They've been recruited specifically to coordinate and galvanise these innovation networks and to help them achieve that potential. Now, the purpose of these facilitators is to mobilise different kinds of knowledge and create safe and effective spaces for open dialogue by integrating the different perspectives and backgrounds within the network. And this really helps with co-learning and innovation. It is recruited now, and we've also already had 7 of the first Broiler Innovation Network meetings, which is really exciting. So last month and this month has been the sort of period where the innovation networks have come together for the first time after a period of sort of engagement and recruitment. And so far we've had meetings in Germany, Poland, Slovenia, Greece, Italy, Spain and the UK. We've got 2 upcoming in Finland and Portugal, and there's 4 in the sort of planning stages that will be conducted beginning of June in France, Sweden, Ireland and the Netherlands. So it's quite exciting. It's really good to hear the outcomes from these meetings with very diverse groups and people in each country coming together to discuss their sector's challenges. So here you've got some of them in action. The top left is the Spanish bin, top right Slovenia, and the bottom is Greece. So you can see quite varied numbers in the bins, but this doesn't matter. It can be very dynamic membership. You can have a smaller core group with a bit more fluctuating membership, and the bins can be built on as time goes on with different people who bring and share different perspectives. Generally, we kind of go with a sort of minimum of 5 or 6 people, with primarily farmers as the key bin members, but we also want to see up and down the supply chain, including some scientists and researchers, but also policy people, people in the feed industry, the breeding industry, other those in the supply chain are absolutely key to this. But each of the bins have had the core group of farmers who are the ones managing the birds and the broiler houses. Like I say, we're in the middle of the sort of first stage of coming together as a bin, but some of the groups have already collected some of their sector challenges already, and we've asked them to group these into the themes of broiler welfare, health management and environmental sustainability, and to give us a bit of a sense of the most important ones. So we'll try and rank them and use that as a bit of an activity within these meetings, which are very interactive with lots of sort of group activities, including icebreaker activities, and plenty of time for discussion. So here's a selection on your screen of some of the sector challenges that the groups have come up with so far. By no means comprehensive, but within welfare, things around ventilation and air quality, footpad dermatitis, farmer training have all come up. Farmer training was quite a common one actually. Health management, things like biosecurity, gut health, AMR have come up. And within environmental sustainability, there's been things as varied as land availability, water quality, and then litter and drop-in management. And we will see these increase as we go forward into the summer. And once all these sector challenges have been collected and ranked, they will then be discussed and analysed within the thematic expert networks. So these are small groups of subject matter experts that form within each of those 3 themes of sustainability, health management and broiler welfare. And we are going to be forming those over the next few months. And they might include members of the bins, so some representatives from the bins, but also subject matter experts outside of the project. And these are going to discuss and prioritise the top challenges facing the broiler sector across Europe, so those most urgent ones. And they'll be deciding those by providing research evidence and practice-based knowledge. They're also then going to choose the best of the good practices, and the BroilerNet champions who are going to sort of advocate and share those good practices. And these are based on the next stage of the bins coming together, where they would have reflected on the sector challenges, and then they're going to start identifying and exploring some of the good practices that exist already in their bin, and these will be collated in a similar way and shared with the thematic expert networks. But these good practices can be collected through a series of discussions that reflect on the impact that these good practices have on one of the three themes. You know, is it a good and large impact on improving sustainability, for instance? Critically, is it practical and easy to adopt? Because we want to encourage the uptake of these good practices across Europe and across different contexts. So how practical and easy is it within those countries? Also, how much value does it add? Are there other co-benefits and synergies? So does something that improves bird health also improve bird welfare? And are they of minimal risk of any unintended consequences? So that are some of the criteria we'll be encouraging each bin to think about when they're collecting their good practices. And then on a European level, in the thematic expert networks, we'll be thinking more about the generalizability of these across Europe. And there will also be a series of cost-benefit analyses done on each of those best of the good practices, so that we can have some sort of quantifiable backing to those measures for others to uptake. And you'll hear more about that from the other people in the project. So in outcomes, we're talking about 9 sector top challenges by the end of the year, so it's 3 per theme. There'll be 9 chosen best of the good practices. That's going to be quite a hard decision to make, I believe. And we'll have 9 BroilerNet champions by the end of the year that can go forth and spread these measures. By the end of the project, we'll have about 24 cost-benefit analyses for each of those good practices, which will really add weight to the case for doing them. So that's all of the work package 1 of the BroilerNet project, really, in a bit of a nutshell. It's been really fruitful seeing the groups come together, the different people from the different parts of the broiler sectors coming together in their bins and collaborating. Really heartwarming to see. There's really good outcomes already. So we're looking forward to the next few years of this project. So thank you very much for listening. Again, sorry not to be there live, and I'm sure Stefan can deal with any questions that you might have.
So this was the presentation of Lisa Morgans, and we are open for questions. There are not many questions. I see that we have about 50 participants, and I recognize a lot of friends within the project and consortium, and also other friends, and we're happy that you joined this webinar. We will now, if there is no question, and you still have option to put in the question here, we will take a break, and we will be back at, I think 2 o'clock will be sufficient, and so you can grab a cup of coffee or do whatever you want, and we continue at 2 o'clock in 14 minutes. So thank you for now. Hello, Wiebke. Nice to see you, and we're very happy that you could join and give an interesting presentation on an important topic.
Yes,
so,
good afternoon.
Yeah, so I think the clock is 2 o'clock, and I hope everybody has enjoyed the break and now are very eager to get more information. And it's a pleasure for me to introduce Dr. Wiebke Jansen, that is Policy Officer at the Federation of Veterinarians in Europe, and Piotre Kwiecinski, that is President of Union of the European Veterinary Practitioners. And they will make a joint presentation on coccidiosis prophylaxis and possibly other topics in broilers that are of relevance. And you have plenty of time, and there will be questions, and I and Lina will be giving the questions to you, as I know it's quite a can be a challenge to see the questions when you're giving presentation yourself. So Wiebke, you're welcome.
Thank you, Stefan. And good afternoon, everyone. It's a huge pleasure to be here. Thank you for this opportunity. We really enjoy the work in the advisory board of BroilerNet. So FVE is part of this, and we have a huge interest in the topic. So I will share now my presentation. So today we will talk about the challenges for poultry veterinarians. And for those who are not that familiar with the FVE, the Federation of Veterinarians of Europe is the umbrella organization of the veterinary profession in Europe. We have in 38 countries, 47 national associations as members. The members of the FVE are either professional associations or the chambers, or that are organizing the veterinary profession in their countries. FVE has 4 sections: the practitioners, to which my dear colleague Piotre serves as their president, the hygienists, the state veterinary officers, and those veterinarians that are working in education, research, and industry. The mission of the FVE is to enhance animal health, animal welfare, public health, and to protect the environment by promoting the veterinary profession. And together with its members, FVE supports veterinarians in delivering their professional responsibilities in the best possible standard and ensures that the veterinary expertise is recognized and valued by society. The highest level in FVE is the General Assembly, which is held twice a year. Here, the members appoint a board that sets out the strategic actions on topics of the interest of the veterinary profession. The board is expected to be to change now in June, where there will be a re-election of this board. The board is assisted by our office. This is where I work alongside of our executive director, Nancy, and my colleagues here in Brussels. And we work as well and provide secretariat to our working groups. Therefore, here as well, the members appoint and nominate experts, and they give input through through different consultations. And in these working groups, position papers are developed. For the moment, there are 4 different working groups: the Animal Welfare Working Group, the Medicines Working Group, the Statutory Bodies Working Group, and the renamed Veterinary Public Health Working Group. The position papers that these working groups develop go then to the board for approval and can be adopted in the General Assembly. The FVE strategy runs the current one from 2021 to 2025, and the priorities are 1, health and sustainability; 1, veterinary community, being recognized and influential; veterinary demography and rewarding careers; and to embrace technology. Today, we will talk about different topics that are on the FVE agenda, and the poultry topics take, hold on, a huge part in the FVE work for the moment. We will talk about the animal health visits, and I just would like to draw your attention to the recently held webinar together with the Piotre Veterinary Study Group to the EU on highly pathogenic avian influenza preparedness. The recording is still available on our website. We have as well a position paper on unwanted offspring on farms, so male chicks, though this is not the main concern for broiler breeders. And we have obviously our position paper on coccidia control in poultry. I will now elaborate on this one. So different synergistic tools are available to veterinarians to promote the prevention of disease and to increase the welfare of poultry. However, some diseases occur even when the sanitary and management standards are high, such as coccidia infections. The FVE recommends in its position paper that decision on the most appropriate, efficient and safest coccidia control options should be elaborated between the supervising veterinarian and the poultry farmer in formulating a medium to long-term strategy. This should be based on a comprehensive and continuous on-farm surveillance of excretion levels in each flock, and by using firstly all appropriate strategies in the toolbox for coccidia control, including flock health management, biosecurity measures, nutraceuticals, vaccines, and, where indicated, prudent and responsible use of coccidiocides and anticoccidials. I will now elaborate on flock health management and regular animal health visits and biosecurity, and my colleague Piotre will take it from there on nutraceuticals, vaccination, and the coccidiocides. So in our last General Assembly, we asked the FVE members, what are the biggest benefits for you of preventive animal health visits? And the members agreed that animal health, animal welfare, and public health would be the biggest benefits. In addition, the economics of biosecurity makes perfect sense. All economic models suggest that prevention of disease is always less expensive than the treatment. And biosecurity is a vital ingredient for the possible control of diseases. As a result from the animal health strategy, prevention is better than cure. A need for regular animal health visits was defined to formulate a practical and meaningful tool that has added value for farmers, veterinarians, and consumers alike. A tool that will act ultimately in favor of animal welfare, food safety, public health, while enhancing consumer protection and consumer reassurance. Our goal is therefore moving from curative to preventive veterinary advisory systems and to provide preventive veterinary care for all animals. In this adventure, promoting biosecurity is an essential part of these advisory visits. The Article 25 of the Animal Health Law requires operators to ensure that establishments receive risk-based animal health visits from the veterinarian for the purpose of disease prevention, and this through the provision of advice to the operator concerned on biosecurity and other animal health methods, and through the detection and information of signs indicated for the occurrence of listed and emerging diseases. The frequencies shall be proportionate to the risk and depend obviously on the type of establishment, so extensive and intensive establishments, animal species and the categories kept, and the epidemiological situation of the region. We believe that the outputs of these visits are multifold, so ranging from improved biosecurity to improved productivity, to more sustainable farming, the less need to use antimicrobials, a better disease prevention in animals and humans, and here it is as much about consumer protection as it is about occupational health. The early detection of diseases in animal holdings, and eventually improved animal welfare. The FVE position paper, Prevention is Better Than Cure, regular animal health visits make this happen, was developed by a task force with national experts and went through wide consultation, including the species sections. It was unanimously adopted by the FVE members. And ever since, the FVE advocates continuously to communicate these new rules in a practical, understandable, and targeted way to all the different actors involved. The link to the position paper is here, and I can pop this in the chat later on. Our recommendations for successful visits boil down to 5 major ones. Fundamental to the success is to have one-to-one contract and to schedule the visits regularly. To have a relation of trust. It should include a farm-specific herd health management plan with a tangible output. There should be a report summarizing the output, and this could be made available on request, for example, to the official veterinary services. For example, to elaborate control plans of the veterinary services. It should be first and foremost a clinical service for the farmer without carrying out official controls, and the visit should not be unnecessarily time-consuming or paperwork heavy. For poultry, the position paper recommends for pullet and rearing 3 to 4 visits per rearing period. For laying hens, 1 visit per 3 months with higher frequencies at the start. Here for broilers, the important one for today, 1 to 2 visits per production cycle, and certainly the most important times are at the start and before sending them off to the slaughterhouse. And for turkeys, 1 visit per month. For the biosecurity measures review, important points are here: the purchase of the animals, litter and feed, and the quarantine measures that are connected to these. The access of vehicles on the farm and including their disinfection. The efficacy of the entry system for visitors and workers, and the use of personal protective equipment. The registration of visitors on farm, and then more on the internal side. So the use of disinfectants, where, when, and which. The review of pest control and pest measures. The restriction of access for companion animals or other animals that might have access to the stable or to the farm. The disposal of carcasses and litter, and internal farm biosecurities, for example, on the control of water supply. The FVE ran last year a survey on the implementation of the animal health visits in the different FVE member countries. Good. And based on the criteria that we laid down in the position paper, we benchmarked the different countries. So the criteria: who performs the visits? Is it a private veterinarian, or are these official veterinarians? Are these mandatory or voluntary visits? Which type of holdings are covered? Only commercial holdings or as well private holdings. How is the coverage of the total holdings? So how high is the percentage of the holdings covered in each country? What is the content? So which subjects are covered? Which production types are covered? So not only the distinction between commercial and private, but as well between intensive and extensive systems. And how is the frequency? Is it risk-based? Is it high enough? Where are points to improve? And we have as well published the full report on this, and I can as well share the link in the chat. So just as an example, this is from the report, the detailed information from Belgium. So there is a table with high score elements and low score elements and the short description of this. And then we gathered all information and we scored them in a huge table, which is in the annex of the report. I would like to say here that this is the information that we received from our members. So we cannot take any responsibility for omissions or things that changed in the very recent month. So but we update this report regularly. So if you have more information, please let us know. We're very happy to include new and more information on this. I would now like to share the results that are specifically for poultry. So we scored the different countries on the coverage of, and here the coverage of poultry holdings. So in 2 countries, less than 25% of the holdings were included in the animal visits. In 3 countries, where 25 to 75% of the holdings were covered, and the vast majority, more than 75% of the holdings were covered. And now to the frequencies, this is something where there is a good start. So the recommendations are, many countries adhere already to the recommendations as laid down in the FVE position papers, but there's still work to do. So for example, here for the broilers, less than 1 to 2 visits per month, so per production cycle. This is certainly something where in the frequency there's something to improve. Now to the objectives, the content of the visit. The 3 most mentioned subjects are animal health data, animal treatment, mainly antimicrobial treatments, and production parameters. However, biosecurity, while this is specifically mentioned in the law, was only included in 22 countries in the subjects. Now, for the content for the poultry visits, so I have broken this down based on the coverage of the holdings. In descending order, advising on disease prevention, advising on animal husbandry practices, advising on biosecurity, and advising on improving animal welfare were the subjects that were mostly covered, where advising on the mitigation of antimicrobial resistance was only included in 14 of 19 countries that performed these visits for poultry. So there's certainly as well something that could be improved. And from here, I will give the floor to Piotre, who will take the presentations from here.
Thank you, Wiebke, for giving an introduction and for covering the first 2 points. Now I will elaborate on the other 3. Coccidiosis control is of paramount importance and based on limiting the intake of sporulated oocysts by susceptible individuals. so that a subclinical infection is established to induce immunity, not clinical science. Breastfeeding, even breastfeeding and watering practice and good flock health management, including also technical parameters like temperature, light, litter, air, stock density, etc., and even including disease control for immunosuppressive diseases such as Marek disease, Gumboro disease, chicken animal virus, or IB and others, contribute to this goal. Here you can see all the points that contribute to widely understand coccidia control in poultry. So nutriceuticals and probiotics. Recent approaches focus on new nutraceutical components such as phytochemicals, for example, plant extracts or others, and probiotics, symbiotics, prebiotics, due to their capacity of diminish oocyst burden and improving intestinal integrity. It was shown that supplementation of organic acids significantly increased body weight gain, improved feed coefficient ratio, reduced lesion score, and oocyst shedding. We have learned to add natural products because we want to diminish the use of antibiotics. For example, by using tannins or saponins. With coccidia, the humoral response is not as important as GALT or MALT system. Those systems protect the body from inversion in the gut. Different options are available and can be applied as a solution, either individually or in combinations. These products do not only improve resilience, remove oocyst load, and support gut integrity, but also improve overall conditions of the birds and improve the last performance. The next, please, Wiebke. Vaccinations against Aermia species. Alternative preventive ways, such as vaccination, are available for some species, especially for chicken. Vaccination programs are gaining more and more popularity, especially in long-living chickens, such as breeding stocks and layers, and in organic farming. This is no EU licensed vaccine for turkey, for example, which is a major drawback. During this period, I mean period of vaccination, it is important to limit possible stressors. Avoid antibiotics with a residual activity against Aermia and any anticoccidials and feed containing anticoccidials. This highlights the importance of veterinary oversight in education in relation to implementation and monitoring of vaccination programs. Also, experience from organic farming and from certain conventional farming in certain countries demonstrate the possibility to manage vaccination programs in broiler chickens. The short growth period of broiler chickens makes the vaccines not fully effective, as they develop immunity only more or less around slaughter time. So the FVE, Federation of Veterinarians of Europe, recommends that better administration techniques, better formulations, higher concentration, and tailored choice of Aermia strains must be considered to improve the feasibility of vaccination in broiler and chicken in the future, in the nearest future. Next, please. Also, coccidiostats inhibits reproduction and do not fully eliminate the parasites from the intestinal of the animal. Administration of in-feed coccidiostats is recommended when animals, even under the best management regimes, and be predictably expected to develop clinical coccidiosis, and other measures are unable to limit clinical sites. Regulations, European Regulation 2080 bans the use of coccidiostax in organic farming. So which means that this is the first step to limitation of the coccidiostats using. The next, please. Challenges associated with coccidiostats use. You can see this slide is divided into two parts. So let's go to the left part of this slide. A shuttle program involves utilizing a different drug in different feeds provided to the growth chick. For example, one frequently employed shuttle program involves the use of nicarbazine in the starter feed and ionophore in the grower diet. A rotation program involves using different drug in successive flock. Aemiaria, as you probably know, can develop resistance in the form of lower susceptibility to coccidiostats. In that case, rotational use with vaccination is the most effective. Now let's go to the right part of the slide. There is a focus on bacterial resistance. As in some countries, it was noted that narasin resistance was found together with vancomycin resistance and was described in publication. This collaboration was not proven by sequencing, so in my opinion, in FVE opinion, so more data is needed to confirm such situation. And as for now, it is only treated as an incident. However, we should consider monitoring the resistance just in case. However, sequencing of the plasmids has shown that the responsible genes are not located next to each other on the same plasmid. And this is a weakening of the hypothesis of the narasin influence on persistence of vancomycin resistant Enterococcus broilers chicken. FVE monitors the situation carefully in order to adapt recommendation in line with EMA recommendation for antibiotics. The next, please. Monitoring the cells and use of ionophores. Ionophores are by far the most widely used coccidiostats. They have some residual antimicrobial activity against gram-positive bacteria and add in controlling simultaneously pathogens such as Clostridium perfringens. So in FVE opinions, they are free in the market, I mean coccidiostats, and can be bought by and used by anyone. Because of this, FVE recommends to monitor their sales and probably include them into European surveillance of veterinary antimicrobial consumption system. This can allow us for immediate identification of the pharmacologically active ingredients, its concentrations, and withdrawal period. The next, please. Here you can see two lines. The first upper line is biosecurity. The lower one is regarding to the Aemiaria. Both lines are important, and we need to treat this as a complex of actions against coccidiosis. The next, please. If ionophores become prescription-only medicine, we say we use some kind of abbreviation, POM, prescription of the medicines, we would be able to monitor their use. If this is the case, we will not be able to use them anymore in prophylactic way, but we are able to use them for metaphylactic use. This is my last slide, because I would like to thank Wiebke for helping me and changing my slide. I would like to thank you, Stefan Gunnarson, to invite us to this interesting webinar. And I would like to thank all of you for listening our presentation. And now we are open for questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And it's now, thank you, Wiebke, thank you, Piotre. The presentation is open for questions. And we see, I have a question, and that is elaborating to the to what is in the future with the, you mentioned to me the other day, Wiebke, that this ban of prevention medication would maybe in future be kind of an obstruction for having a myria control in future. Would you like to elaborate a little on that?
So
Piotre, maybe Piotre would elaborate on it.
Yeah. Oh, okay, because I'm practitioner, so I face with this problem every day, even today in the morning. And on our last slide, we showed our FVE position paper on coccidia control in poultry. This position paper was discussed with PVSG group, Poultry Veterinary Study Group, which is representing the poultry specialist, veterinary specialists. This group is our member. And of course, this is some kind of controversial topic. There is no golden solutions, because it's very easy to ban the use of coccidiosis. But what about with our production? But in fact, ionophores are antibiotics, so we cannot use it in a preventive way. When you say in the future, I think that this is the problem, and this is the process. We have to accustom ourselves not to use coccidiosis, and also we have to adjust our production, our farmers. So it's the education of the farmers, and to adjust the same last performance is needed. But when you say in the future, you mean 1 month or you mean 5 years? So this is the difference. But I think that we need to keep our production on this level, and we have to adjust. We cannot, we cannot make vaccination program only for broilers. From other side, from the other, we cannot have any vaccination to Turkey. Both are meat production. So I think that we need a little bit more time to prepare a good and effective vaccines, to educate all stakeholders in the production, and also to accustom veterinarians to the new manner, new production as well. This is my opinion.
Yep. Wiebke, would you like to add things to that?
well, it is very true that the new veterinary medicines regulation bans the use of prophylactic use of antimicrobials, except for individuals and for life-saving cases. So there is obviously an obstacle, but this is gazing into a crystal ball, because there is, as I can only echo Piotre, so there's a need to see what time will tell us about the next steps.
I think that the process is ongoing.
Mhm.
We see more and more flocks free on coccidiosis. We see more and more flocks free of antibiotics. We can see, you know, normal commercial farms which are leading their production like organic farms, more or less. But this process is ongoing, and it's getting faster and faster.
Thank you. See if there is no. It's still possible to ask some questions. I'm not sure we have any participant from Norway, but I think you know, Wiebke, about the Norwegian situation, because they banned some product for prophylaxis of coccidia. Would you explain and give your opinion on that?
Well, in Norway, based on the scientific findings and consumer concerns, they banned the use of narasin, except for those flocks that, even under the best conditions, were developed clinical signs. And as far as we know, they had problems in the beginning, but they are now managing the phasing out to a reasonable extent. So they are good examples, as well as in organic farming with longer living birds under certain conditions where this is already working in a sufficient manner. Yes.
Please, Piotre, would you like to talk a little about this with the Norwegian situation, if you're familiar with that?
Yes, I'm familiar. Yeah. Yes, I'm familiar with that. And, you know, we have to take into consideration also animal welfare. If in each country, Scandinavian countries have good conditions, good level of production, the highest level of production, if they are able to ensure the birds a good condition, not suffer due to coccidiosis, you know, because when you have coccidiosis, you have wet litter. If you have wet litter, you have foot pad lesions. You mentioned about this in your first presentation. So everything we have to, this is a balance, you know, between the animal welfare and, you know, the highest level of production. Of course, we have to follow this this way, and we would like to be very close to this, and we gather this information and this data. We know that this is possible, but you know, in massive production, with the big farms, it's not so easy. You know, even if we introduce the vaccination for 2, 3, 4 cycles, and after that, we see that the susceptibility of Admira is constantly rising, and you know, then we achieve a better animal welfare, better health of animals. I think that this is a future, but I am not able to say you what exactly in which day is the border, that data that we are able to ban the use of coccidiostatic. During the whole my professional life, during the last 20 years, we are discussing about this, but the final decision is not made yet.
We have a question here from a participant, and that is, the question is, you said that the onset of immunity after vaccination is a problem in regular broilers, but that vaccination is a good tool in organic, longer living broilers. How can you explain this? Why would a vaccinated regular broiler suffer from coccidiosis at, for example, 3 weeks of age, while an organic broiler would not?
Now we are talking about the way of vaccination, that the broilers are vaccinated in the hatchery and farm condition, and what kind of vaccine do you use, and what is the way of vaccination. We can assume that the process of vaccination and the vaccine is okay, is right. We see some kind of outbreaks after vaccination. So which means that the composition of vaccine maybe is more adjusted to the long-living broilers, and long-living broilers, the system of digestibility, the system of gaining body weight is slower, and also some physiological process are a little bit different than in commercial farms. You know, the broilers or commercial farms are sprinters. They grow very fast. Maybe this is correlated with the how much protein is included in the feed. So these are the questions on the discussion table: how to improve the process of vaccination, how to facilitate the process of inducing of immunity, how to protect the flocks, I mean commercial flocks, against Eimeria invasion from the gut. I think that there is different breeds for long-living broilers, because, you know, we are completely successful with using of vaccination in layers and also in broiler breeders, because those birds are completely different than broilers. So I think that these vaccines were introduced on our market earlier, and they were adjusted to layers or to broiler breeders. And now we can see that this is some kind of evidence that even for long-living broilers, these vaccines are more effective. So they need to be a little bit to adjust to the commercial broilers. This is my opinion from practical point of view.
Wiebke, would you like to comment on that question as well?
I think Piotre covered this.
Yeah. We see if there is any more question. It's still time to, we have still time to answer some questions here. Okay. I can't see any more questions. So maybe, yeah, Piotre, please.
Yeah, because I know that you want to discussion. Discussion is always for me, you know, something priceless, because it's a fresh and direct, you know, sharing the information and experience. I think that this is complex of actions that we have to undertaken in order to avoid coccidiosis on the farm, and in order to strengthening the effectiveness of the vaccination programs. This is a complex of feed, you know, environmental conditions on the farm, stock density, you know, and many cycles. How many cycles? How long is the empty period between cycles? So there are many factors which contribute to achieve desirable effect. And I repeat it once again. So we need to be participating in such webinars like yours, like BroilerNet, and we have to share this information. We have to convince and to have good examples that we can do this, and we can achieve a really very good last performance by not using coccidiostats. I remember the same was a long-term discussion about growth promoter, and at the end of the time, many years ago, the growth promoters were banned, and we survived, and broilers survived, and we at the moment we achieved much better last performance than before. So I think that the same process is ongoing, and we are discussing about the coccidiostats now.
Thank you. Wiebke, would you like to make a comment or a summing up?
Well, the thing to conclude is that the management tools that are available always based on a synergistic combination of different methods, this is important to consider, that there is no miracle solution for one or the other problem, neither in poultry, neither for other animals, and this is something where it is important to consider to explore every option and to adapt the control options to the local and regional conditions, and to involve always the practitioner that knows the running conditions of the farm to the best possible extent.
Thank you. Piotre, would you like to make a closing conclusion as well? I have a question actually, and that is, what do you know about any genetic work of getting broilers more genetically resistant to Aemerias?
Yeah. Yes, they do this. Yes, they do this, you know, because now on our main table discussion, when we are talking about meat production, about the public health, about the safety of food and fresh food, because people like to buy, consumers want to have, you know, safety food and fresh food. It's not only coccidiosis, it's not only antibiotics, but because when we are talking about coccidiosis, we have to think about antibiotics, you know, diminish of the usage of antibiotics, but also Salmonella eradication and also Campylobacter eradications, which are the more frequent zoonoses of that. So I think that if we find a solution, we have to focus on, you know, step by step, and the discussions are parallelly at the moment, subcutaneously, about Campylobacteriosis, about Salmonellosis, about the antimicrobial resistance, about antibiotics usage, included ionophores, which are in fact antibiotics, you know. So this is my conclusion, that we have to be open for each outcome and each information, and gather them and try hard to consider all of them.
We have a comment here from Harald Slisnig from Austria, which is also very much involved in AVEC. And I think Harald, I will let you in as a panelist, and you can elaborate your discussion suggestion here.
Yeah.
Please, Harald, please.
So
nice to see you.
Hi, Stefan. Hello to all the participants. Yeah, I was not prepared for being online. No, just I write a comment into the chat. Yeah, and I just can repeat it. Yeah, I think that we have really two main species where we have the problems, and one species is of course the turkeys, with no vaccination program or no vaccine available at the moment in Europe. And I think, and that what Piotre said, and the second one species is of course the fast growing broiler, which is at the moment sometimes replaced in countries by slower growing breeds, and in these slower growing breeds we start to, of course, we then use vaccination programs with a vaccine. So I was just trying to give a comment on that very specific and very interesting topic. Yeah. And I know that there will be a meeting from the Piotre Veterinary Study Group in Spain, and I think that they will also discuss this internally, and then we maybe can they can give us some comment back, yeah, for the BroilerNet program. So, okay, thank you for that.
Thank you very much, Harald. So, do we have any more questions? I think Wiebke, you promised us a web link in the chat, maybe, to everyone. And I can also add the link to the BroilerNet project.
So maybe you can reshare this.
Yeah, I see. I will put it there so it's possible to for everyone to see it. So yeah, thank you. But I think, dear friends, if there is nothing more to say, I think there is a lot of things you can always say, but not necessarily you need to say everything. So I thank Piotre and Wiebke very, very much, and also Harald for giving this comment. And I thank you all for attending this BroilerNet webinar. And I also would like to take the opportunity to thank all the people that have been working in the bins at the moment. I see several of you are joining as attendees in this webinar, and we look forward to get all the information, and we will have future webinars, and then we will have information. I can guarantee, but I can't really guarantee that we will solve every problem within the broiler sector, but we will do our best. So thank you very much, everybody, for this webinar, and I say thank you and goodbye from Skara, Sweden. Fantastic tool, this.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.